How do companies set a price? Setting a price involves many different variables. It involves the cost to produce a product, involves market demand, and it involves the customer's perception of the value. Companies need to determine what types of market economic structures they operate in, and then determine on what is the best way to assess the price of the object that they're going to be selling. There's three major pricing strategies. There's customer-based pricing, cost-based pricing, and then there's competition-based pricing. Customer-based pricing takes into account the perceived value of the product. In order to determine price based on customer-based pricing, this is done in the marketing strategy of the planning process for the product that's going to be developed. Things to be considered are market positioning, different quality aspects of the product that's going to be offered up for sale, and then, of course, how many units they plan on producing. The next one that we'll cover is cost-based pricing. Cost-based pricing, the company will determine how many units they plan on producing, what their rate of return is expected for that product, and then any fixed or variable costs that go into making that product. In order to determine the cost-based pricing, they must determine first the unit cost. The unit cost is the fixed cost divided by the unit cost plus the variable cost. That's how you determine the unit cost of the item. Then you'll take that unit cost and then add in your expected rate of return, and there we have our price. The next method of price setting is competition-based pricing. Competition-based pricing is whenever companies will look around at the other products offered in their market and determine where their product stands up next to a competitor. Persuaders in competition-based products may be adding value to the product through the form of some added features that the other products do not have, or they could just simply price their product lower than the competitors in hopes of gaining more of the market share. In all three of these types of price settings, the company needs to evaluate their break-even analysis. The break-even analysis is performed to determine what sales volume and what price is needed to make a profit. Finding the break-even point will identify where the total revenue is equal to total volume and the total profit is zero. Next is how to apply these pricing strategies in the different markets that they're operating in. So the four major types of economic markets are pure competition, monopolistic competition, oligopolistic competition. Excuse me, sorry, I was trying to get that oligopolistic out correctly, and then pure monopoly. So pure competition are items that are homogenistic. These homogeneous items they're very there's a standard. It's kind of like salt or sugar or oil or something where there's not a lot of variance from product to product. These types of products, the market equilibrium sets the price. See, individual contributors have no control over the price of the item. They more or less have to price it based on the market cost or the market perception of the value. And the only real way to increase revenue if you're operating in this economic market is to produce more. That's the only way to gain more market shares, because you don't really have a competitive advantage over through marketing schemes, advertising, or anything like that. It's difficult to compete in that market. It's just kind of those products just kind of are what they are, if you will. The next we have here is the monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition is where most of our products operate in that we buy day to day. These types of products are electronics. Excuse me. Let me back up. Monopolistic competition economic market type consists of many buyers and sellers trading for products valued at different prices. There's a lot of variance in these products. These products are electronics, automobiles. All of these products perform the same function, but there's different variances to each product that marketers and producers can exploit to gain more of the market share. Oligopolistic competition is a form of competition where there's not many sellers, but there's a lot of buyers. It's difficult to enter the market. These would be kind of like our airlines, our power companies, utility companies, that sort of thing, that are very large and they have the infrastructure to support the customers, and it's hard to break into that market. Those folks will use competition-based pricing to set prices. Um, their market share is determined based on what their neighbor or their competitor is doing. It's hard to come in and offer a service that is comparable to your competitor and then charge more and expect to have consumers pay that extra. Consumers will always gravitate to the lowest price, provided the value is transferable. The last type of economic structure is pure monopolistic. Pure monopolistic is one of the rarest forms of economic structures because there are government regulations preventing monopolies from occurring in the market today. The only instance where we can still see pure monopolistic companies are perhaps our utility companies, to where they have the monopoly over the region because they're the only ones who offer power services, water, utilities, things of that nature. These are regulated by the government, so the price doesn't get out of hand. Government steps in and sets price with those companies based on their operating cost, and they deem what's fair rate of return for those companies operating in that market. So these have been the major pricing strategies and the economic structures that these pricing strategies are developed in. Businesses need to understand where they lie in the economic structures, and they need to understand what pricing strategy they will use to set the price to be competitive for the products that they are offering.